come right now.
Sounded more like a grumble.
Good. And those of you that are struggling at all with it, and you can, make that call. Okay? It's really important to make the call. 1 Timothy 5, 3 through 8. Wait, can it ever be said that this church is all about money because about once every 2 months I forget to take the offering? Okay? So please don't ever tell me that. Tell me how that's true. 1 Timothy 5, 3 through 8. Yeah, young people, I know it's time for you guys to get us involved. 1 Timothy 5, 3 through 8. We're going straight through Scripture, so this is not like target or specially chosen. We just teach through the Bible. Because if you don't do that, we just never will. Because it's just so hard to be disciplined about things like that. So we just teach straight through the Bible, and whatever comes up, comes up. But there are always applicable principles in every passage of the Word of God about everything. Let the Spirit speak to you today. Honor widows who are widows indeed. But if any widow has children or grandchildren, they, meaning the children or grandchildren, must first learn to practice piety in regard to their own family, and to make some return to their parents. This is acceptable in the sight of God. Well, that's not a bad principle, is it? That's well said. Now, she who is a widow indeed, well, that's the second time we've said that, isn't it? It must be important. She who is a widow indeed, and who has been left alone, has fixed her eyes on God and continues in entreaties and prayers night and day. But she who gives herself to wanton pleasure is dead even while she lives. Prescribe these things as well, so that they may be above reproach. Those are some really good words too. We'll go back to those words, above reproach. But if anyone does not provide for his own, and especially for those of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. Do I need to remind you that Jesus from the cross made some family connections, even at this point of death? So committed to this kind of principle that we have. Hey, everybody's got a mom. It's something that we have in common, and it is a wonderful thing, motherhood. I don't understand it. I will never be a mother. Okay. But this morning I was very touched because my wife, in a text this morning to me, wished me Happy Mother's Day. And I know it's about making the kids lunches. I know that that's right. What it's about. But we share parenting roles, and they kind of transcend some of the traditional kind of definitions. And I think that's a good thing. I think there's a lot of times that men can be moms and women can be dads, and that parents can share responsibility in a really, really good way. Somebody's got to step up, because there is a ton of parenting and guidance that's needed in this world. And I think we've got to all be called upon to do that. And boy, hats off and respect to single moms. Because, man, what a miraculous thing for single moms that survive it and that deal with it and are living witnesses as they do. What a blessing about that. Everyone's got a mom. When my sister, when she answered the phone, because my mom didn't have a jitterbug phone, one of those ones. As it kind of buzzes and alerts her, and then she knows it's me. And it's a great system, but when she leaves it on the nightstand and goes somewhere else, it doesn't work. Okay. And so I tried that, left a message, and now I said, no, I'm going to call my sister. And so my sister answered the phone with the following words. She says, you want to talk to our mother? And I said, yeah, I appreciate you too, Debbie. My sister has been a caregiver for my mom for all these years. They've teamed up in a partnership that is really pretty amazing and very mutual. And immediately I was reminded of some of the things that I did to my sister. We're 4 years different in age, and there's no advantage to that except when you're maybe 8 and 4 or 9 and 5 or 10 and 6, that 4 years, because you can say some pretty weird things and your sister will believe you. And so I had convinced, on our Mother's Day some years ago, I convinced my sister that she was actually not my sister. And that we had found her under a cabbage leaf. I was so convincing, little actor, that I was, so convincing that I got in trouble because she went and asked my father if that was true. And you can imagine, that was really good. And so to get out of that with my sister, when this all kind of came out, but I wasn't going to let my sister, kind of get me in trouble like that without having something to think about. And she says, yeah. She goes, well, I told Dad. I said, you did not. You did not tell Dad. I already did, and he's looking for you. And so, oh man. And so she was looking at me, and she just, because she got me, right? And I said, okay, we didn't find you under a cabbage leaf. I am sorry, that is not the truth. The police brought you. Burst into tears. Went to my mother. Told my mother that the police had brought her. And my mom, and she said, someday, she says, you may tell this story. My mom was pretty wise. Is still pretty wise. So this word honor that we start with, isn't that the Ten Commandment word too? Right? About honor when it comes to parents. The word honor in this passage, and in terms of in the Hebrew and in the language and all that, as we pastors study that in commentaries and all, to discover that the word honor is bigger in meaning. Honor is to show respect or care. What's the operative word in that phrase? To show respect or care. Show. Not lip service. To show respect and care. Also to support. Why isn't that the kind of a change in relationship that happens? That the very person that cares for you may need your care later in life. And specifically then to treat graciously in the general definition of it. I love that the word grace is part of the word graciously. And that we should treat, honor widows in this passage of Scripture. But it certainly applies to our mothers today. To show respect or care, to support, to treat graciously. That's what the word, when it starts there, it's honor widows who are, then we hear this, widows indeed. So, evidently there were some widows that were not really widows indeed. And they had some problem in the early church with folks kind of signing up, or folks getting to the front of the line, or folks demanding or entitlement. Figured it was going on 2,000 years ago. That there was this problem with people receiving things that were supposed to be meant for someone else. And so as you look at this next thing, we're going to talk about what were the issues that Paul is addressing here. And the first thing, if you look at point number 2 here, Paul is addressing 3 issues in the verses, right? First thing he's really addressing, and don't lose sight of it, is the real need of real widows. We have a problem in lines of thinking when we start to hear about people who take advantage of the system, or people who, aren't being honest or forthright about needs or situations. In order to solve the problem, sometimes we say, okay, if we can't do this right, what's an instant solution we come up with? Then nobody gets anything. whole thing. If people are gonna not do it right, then we just won't do it at all. Man, we shouldn't cop out like that. We have to do some sorting out. We have to do some accountability. We have to do some investigating. We have to do some compassion. We have to do some sensitivity, because we may not understand or know everything, and there's a lot of circumstantial things that we have no idea what's really going on. And we really need to find out. And that's really his heart here, is to talk about the real need of real widows. Don't lose sight of that. And another thing he's addressing is the problem of misrepresenting need. And that's a problem. You know, we face it today about misrepresenting need. So it means if you show compassion to people out on the street, or if you show compassion to people who are in need, and you get taken advantage of where it's not as it appears, it doesn't mean that you should stop being compassionate. We have to continue being compassionate, even though the need for compassion can be misrepresented. Okay? But we also have to be honest about the fact that there can be a misrepresentation of need. And then another thing he's talking about is C. It's kind of a tough one too, because we don't know all the details of people's families or what they go through, is the irresponsibility of some families. He's talking about children and grandchildren, and the parents and the honoring and that kind of thing. And understand it's a two-way street. This has got to be a two-way street, because you can only be responsible for your part in it. If your mom didn't tell you that, or your dad didn't tell you that, or the Word of God would tell you, you can only really be responsible for your part in it. And so we each one need to go to the Lord and say, Lord, I just want to be real about this, and I want to meet real need, and I don't want to overreact to real need, being misrepresented, and I want to be responsible in my own way. Because, how often in life it's easy to point the finger. Right? No, the pointing finger. Okay. So to point the finger, right, at somebody, and realizing that the three fingers are pointing back at you, it's just easy, too easy, to jump to conclusions about all kinds of situations. So hence we have this term and this word that comes here in the third sermon point, and that is about above reproach. And I make a comment at it. It's a good standard for all of our behavior. Let's look at it again in the context of how it was said. About prescribe these things as well, is what Paul says. That there should, not be the sense of widows that are living recklessly or irresponsibly and taking advantage of the generosity of the early church. And certainly they were saying that there was no exclusivity in the early church, that people thought that they had an in or were related to somebody or something, that they should definitely receive their needs met, whereas other people who were Gentiles or are different than the status quo, that they somehow could not be included. But it says prescribe these things as well, so that they may be above reproach. We should take all things to prayer. We should not jump to conclusions about the heart of people or about their motivations, but that we do have to have some kind of a system of accountability inside the family, inside the church family, inside the community, inside the national family, the international family. I mean, this is just pervasive. That the accountability and the compassion has to both, be promoted. Because it's really, really important in terms of above reproach. Above reproach, a good stand for all behavior. So what does this above reproach mean? Early in my life, this particular little two-word phrase haunted me because I had a definition for what above reproach meant. To me, as it could mean to you, and it's meant to a lot of people, particularly when we are, above reproach meant to me that somehow it meant that you had to be perfect. That above reproach meant that you had to be perfect. Well, that's not it at all. I've shared, before, it bears repeating. I was a Sunday night confessor in my earlier faith. Anybody maybe relate to that, being a Sunday night confessor? I was a Sunday night confessor because we went to church in the morning and then we went back to church in the evening. And by the time I got, 2 big doses of church back in the early 60s, I was feeling pretty contrite. And so in being contrite, I said, oh Lord, I would recognize my own sin and fallibility, and I would go to my knees at night and I would promise the Lord with my whole heart. As a 16, 17-year-old believer, I would say, Lord, tomorrow, me, like this, and I will never sin again. The next morning, before I remembered my prayer, I parted my second and third toes on a wrought iron chair. And I said something that ruined my new commitment to be what I thought was above reproach. Above reproach, what we want to do is we want to see above reproach means that I don't draw a whole bunch of negative attention to us. Above reproach doesn't mean perfect. It means that you are sincere before the Lord and you understand positionally that you're in a good place with God, but circumstantially you don't always stand there. It's to be honest and to be transparent about your trouble and about your weaknesses. To be sincere. To be honest about who you are. Because we are not going to be perfect. And we are not going to approach perfection. Only Jesus can, and only Jesus does. But above reproach is a good standard. And I can tell you about our standard of behavior. I think we can raise the standard. Is that a safe statement this morning? That's a safe statement. I don't even know that we are approaching the sense of being above reproach. I think we need to get closer than we've tried. I think we need to commit to raising the standard together. It means there needs to be more accountability, but it also means that we need to release one another from this sense of perfectionism because it's unhealthy. Because if we all have to be perfect, then nobody can be honest. Because otherwise it'd be just one constant confession. If we were to be totally honest about our culpability or about our sinfulness and how we fall short. But because He doesn't fall short, He covers that space for us, and He can help us to live in the light of His forgiveness. I think for some, the difficulty about perfectionism is that if we start to confess, or if we start to get accountable, or if we start to get honest or transparent about what's going on, we don't know where we're going to stop. And we're also afraid that people would hate us and reject us. Okay? All of the sinless people present this morning are excused. No, seriously, I mean, you don't need to be here. I think the best bet for sinless this morning is just going out to the parking lot and a sin. Why stay? You know, the world has nothing to offer you, nothing to show you. You've reached this level of spiritual maturity, and you can just, put your arms up and He'll take you. And I'm telling you right now, if anybody would be willing to go in the parking lot and ask what happened, everybody inside would pray that he would. Because it would be easier for everybody. I think we need to raise the standard. Because I think that above reproach does remind us about our reproach. And we need to know. So what is it? Right now, Christians under a lot of scrutiny and under a lot of judgment and under some genocide, like other peoples are under some genocide circumstances. I particularly pray for the believers in Nigeria right now that are being slaughtered by the hundreds without media coverage. We believers are scrutinized, judged, and mocked. They say, well, didn't Jesus say that, they hated me, they're going to hate you? That's true. But I'm telling you right now that the majority of why we are scrutinized, judged, and mocked today is not because we're holding up this standard of Christ and we're such on-fire witnesses that people can't stand us. That's not really what's happening. We're being mocked, judged, and scrutinized because of our pride and our folly. Because we bring it upon ourselves. We, the church, the body of Christ, are our own worst enemies. I wish I could say that somehow in the United States, the persecution of Christians, is really what is holding Christians back from fulfilling what it is that they're supposed to be doing and being on mission and on purpose in the world. It's not. It's our pride, it's our selfishness, it's our own folly and self-indulgence that keeps us from doing what God really wants us to do. So we're back to raising the standard again. Today, I want to leave you with this thought. My mom, 93 now, and it's really, a wonderful thing to be a part of that and see that. And two years ago, I went and surprised my mom on Mother's Day. Didn't tell her I was coming. I had airline tickets and everything. My sister and I, for the first time I think in our lives, my mom did not catch us lying. Okay? And I was able to show up in her kitchen, and she didn't know I was coming. I was standing there when she came in. Boy, what a remarkable experience. So, was online with a pastoral friend this last week, and his mom was 99, going to be 100 later this year. And he was doing the same thing, flying, to a big surprise, I think. Very, very similar kind of an experience. My mom today, when I spoke to her on the phone, she said to me, do you remember? Do you remember, Fred? 2 years ago you were here on Mother's Day. When you hear something like that, you kind of say, Mom, and if I could possibly be there this year, that's not what my mom was saying. She was just rejoicing in the fact that I had surprised her, and it was a wonderful thing. So in the 20 minutes of encouraging the baby boy this morning that my mom spent after we went through the celebration of Mother's Day, she was encouraging me about all things about the ministry in the church and about children and grandchildren and about, the personal trainer and weight loss. She was encouraging me, okay? As moms, can only do. And so my mom, was really into it. And she said this. She said, you have always said something like that, that I think helps all of us. She said, and it's easy to lose sight of it under a lot of pressure and duress. She says, I think, whether it's you or me or whoever, that we ought to make a better effort to make the best of it. Well, we've lost that one a little bit, haven't we? To make the best of it. I think that's pretty good counsel. Today, in your Mother's Day activities, whatever you're going to plan to do or be forced to do, or endure, survive, or celebrate, I would suggest that you make the best of it. Because I think that will bring you closer to being above reproach. And I also think that that would glorify and honor God.
Yes.
And that God would like us to put our best forward way more often. So strive for some excellence today in everything that you say and do. One of two things. Your mother will either be really proud of you or she should be. Let's pray.